Welcome to the latest episode of the Fight Lounge. I'm your host, RJ Meads, and on this episode, I'm going to give my predictions for the upcoming Chuck Liddell versus Tito Ortiz 3 fight. It's going down on November 24th, live on pay-per-view, and it will not be inside a UFC cage. Actually, legendary boxer Oscar De La Hoya is going to promote it, part of his Golden Boy promotion. A lot of people question this decision of having this grudge match outside of UFC when Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz are literally two people responsible for creating the UFC, making it as big as the sport it is today. Literally the grandfathers of UFC, if you want to be honest about it. One of the reasons being is because Chuck Liddell, of his last 6 fights, he lost 5. Of those 5 losses, 4 of them was by knockout. He got knocked out by Rampage Jackson, Rashad Evans, Shogun, and even Rich Franklin. And Rich Franklin fight was on June 12, 2010. After that fight, Dana White told him, "You need to retire. I won't promote you no more." And so Dana White forced Chuck Liddell to retire, which was the right move. He lost his chin. He wasn't the Iceman that everybody feared anymore. It just wasn't prime Chuck Liddell. And so he's been retired since 2010, so 8 years. Tito Ortiz, on the other hand, he left the UFC in 2012. And when he left, I'm not sure if he left because he retired, if he took a break, or he and Dana White's relationship was so toxic and sour that he needed to leave. And some people don't know how bad their relationship was. So if you want me to go into more detail about that, hit me up and I will create another episode just on their relationship from start finish to how it is currently. And so Ortiz left the UFC in 2012, but he joined Bellator in 2014. And since his arrival, he has won 3 of his last 4 fights with some notable victories over Stephan Bonner and Chael Sonnen. And his only loss in Bellator was in a light heavyweight championship match. So Ortiz is fighting some elite and championship level fighters. So that brings us here. Why are we having Chuck Liddell versus Tito Ortiz in 2018? Tito Ortiz's last fight, which was against Chael Sonnen, the whole build-up, Tito said, "This is my retirement match. I'm going out on top." He invited his family there. That was the storyline heading into the fight. And Tito won. And after he beat Chael, he retired. He put his gloves, his MMA gloves, in the cage, and he thanked the fans, he thanked his family and all that. And then I believe later on in that same year, he saw Chuck, and they just did a pose, took a picture together, and Chuck said, maybe, maybe we'll fight again. And Tito took this to heart, and he said, "All right, let's do it." And so Tito, being the businessman he is, he put this together. And so that's how we got here. And so I will not go into how the Chuck and Tito beef started. That's a whole nother episode. This is just the prediction for their fight. But if I could summarize it, it's just friends, training partners turn into enemies. And so that's the best way and fastest way I can summarize the beef. And so as I move forward to talk about their fight this Saturday, this is Tito versus Chuck 3, which means they have fought 2 separate times, or 2 other times. And those 2 times, Chuck got the best of Tito. Liddell dropped Ortiz twice, and he won by knockout. And it was competitive, but Liddell clearly won the match. What makes this one, the third match, so much different from the first 2 is that when Chuck won, he was in his prime, literally. Because if I'm not mistaken, Liddell won. He knocked out Tito. In the next fight, it was Randy Couture versus Chuck, and Chuck beat him and became UFC light heavyweight champion, if I'm not mistaken. And I think the second time that they fought, it was for the title, and Chuck won again. So that was literally in his prime. However, in 2018, we're not going to see prime Iceman. We're not. 'Cause like I mentioned earlier, Chuck's last 6 fights, he lost 5. And all those 5 losses, he got knocked out in 4 matches. And was forcefully retired by Dana White. Dana White said, you have to retire because I won't put you on UFC cards. I won't promote you anymore. And so Chuck did. And on the other hand, Ortiz has been fighting high quality opponents and even championship level opponents. And so he has been the more active from Chuck. Last week they had those public workouts for the media and the fans and all that. And watching it, Chuck did look slow. He looked slow. He looked out of breath. But, he's supposed to. I don't know his age, but, he retired for 8 years, put it that way. He retired for 8 years and then 6 months to said, I'm going to come back. So he looked like how he's supposed to. The problem for Chuck is, like I mentioned earlier, his last fight was in 2010, which he got knocked out. Ortiz's last fight was last year that he won. So you're dealing with a 1-year layoff versus an 8-year layoff. And so my prediction is Tito Ortiz will defeat Chuck. I think it will be, and again, I don't even know if this is a 5-round fight because this isn't UFC. It's MMA rules, but it's not typical UFC event. So I predict it'll be a five-round fight. But even if it's 5-round not, I give Tito the victory in the second round. I think Chuck's gas tank is gonna run empty by second round. If his chin doesn't give out first, I think Tito is gonna stand up with him to prove that he can stand up with Chuck. Because like I mentioned earlier, he got knocked out by Chuck twice, and that was during stand-up. And so Tito probably wants to prove to himself that I can't stand up with Chuck. I can't knock him out. And so he'll probably stand up and, however, that won't be the best because even though Chuck doesn't quite move like he used to, he still got the overhand right. And so I think in the second round, Ortiz will respect Chuck's striking, take him down. Even if he doesn't get the first takedown, I think he'll do it several times, and then he'll eventually will get the takedown, do some ground and pound, submission maybe if he feels like it. But he definitely gets a victory in the second round. I'll say victory via Kimura or rear naked choke. That's my prediction. Now the only way I can see Iceman winning is in the first round, and that's via KO. And that's if Tito Ortiz said, forget takedowns, forget, grapples, we're just going to stand up. And if Chuck connects, if Chuck clips him or catches him on the chin, that's the only way I can see Chuck. And it has to be in the first round. Even if Chuck is washing Tito in the first round, if it goes in the second round, if they make it to the second round, Chuck energy will be spent. And then Ortiz will go into retreat mode. In round 2, he'll shoot for takedowns and clinch and all that. So I think the only way the Iceman will win is first round via knockout, which might happen. That's another thing I want to mention, that these two have a heated rivalry, and these two hate and despise each other. And these two have fought twice, and Chuck has not only beat him but knocked him out. So I wonder if even after all these years, is Chuck still in Tito's head? The rivalry date back to 2004. So 2004 to 2018, after all these years, is Chuck still in Tito's head? And I guess we will find out live November 24th, live on pay-per-view. And that's my prediction. I got Tito Ortiz second round, submission, either Kimura or rear naked choke. And that would do it for today's episode. This is your host, RJ Meads. Heading out. Before I leave, I do want to say next week I will have another episode for the Fight Lounge, and I will give my predictions for the upcoming Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder boxing match. That's a huge match. I can't wait for that one. That's happening on December 1st, so be on the lookout for that. So yeah, so follow us on all social media platforms. Follow the Fight Lounge on Twitter and IG. Just type in Fight Lounge and you'll find us. So yeah, this is my time. See you guys next week. I hope this fight Saturday is a great fight. So yeah, I'm out of here. See you guys next week.